Good afternoon from Sydney, Australia. My name's Trevor Dornbos, and I will be taking you through Mission Control, managing projects from Salesforce for the next 45 minutes. First of all, we're going through why Mission Control, who uses Mission Control. We'll look at creating projects from Salesforce, allow time for questions. You can ask questions as we're going through, so please feel free to do that. And then next steps, how to trial with Mission Control. Quick history on Mission Control. So celebrating 13 years on Salesforce App Exchange, Mission Control started as an internal application for our company, Aprika Business Solutions, to manage our implementation projects as a Salesforce systems integration partner, solution implementation partner. Over the last 13 years, that's grown from quite a simple project management solution into a full-fledged professional services automation solution. So everything from managing people, projects, resources, costing, expenses, billing, all the aspects that you need to run a services business. As far as a number of customers using Mission Control, we look at that by active users. There's over 11,000 Mission Control users globally, spread across 25 countries. Now, while Aprika Business Solutions is headquartered in Australia, we are actually in North America and Australia, and we support customers across 25 countries with pretty close to follow the sun support. And why Mission Control? Well, if you're already invested in Salesforce or you're looking at investing in Salesforce, the key value for Mission Control is that it's built natively on Salesforce. So you're not having to learn new tools to manage your system. You're actually leveraging those Salesforce administration tools. So anyone with a Salesforce admin capability can certainly manage and implement Mission Control. And that is a big claim there, works out of the box. And that is very, very true. You literally can download Mission Control today from Salesforce App Exchange into a Salesforce instance and have it up and running in minutes. So everything I'm going to show you today is out of the box capability. It's what comes with Mission Control. So the full functionality is there from day one. We don't have different tiers for different access to different parts of Mission Control. It's a per user, per month licensing capability, and it gives you access to 100% of what's available today and in the future with Mission Control. And talking there about that Salesforce configuration. So as I mentioned, anyone who's got a capability with Salesforce as an admin can implement and manage Mission Control. And we provide all sorts of online documentation, user guide, knowledge base, training videos, learning portal, as well as a full implementation guide. So if you want to actually self-implement Mission Control, you can. Our professional services team can help you implement Mission Control, as can many of our Salesforce SI partners. Global user support. So yeah, again, while we're headquartered here in Australia, we've got our team across North America and Australia to give you that follow the sun support. So we're supporting customers across 25 countries and with very, very high response rates. And that's probably one of the reasons that in an upcoming slide, you'll see the value of that. Key attributes of key impacts attributed to Mission Control. So by studying a number of customers and going through an independent consulting company, Client Consulting, they interviewed a number of Mission Control customers, and then from sharing their P&L and going into their books, they're able to see what was the return on investment from Mission Control from before with disconnected systems to having Mission Control centralized in Salesforce and the value of that. And I'll cover that off shortly. Why on Salesforce? There's massive value to being built natively on Salesforce. It means you can leverage those Salesforce existing licenses. So we don't OEM or include the Salesforce licenses, which means if you have already got Salesforce licenses, you can certainly leverage those. And if you need more, you can leverage the capability of negotiating with Salesforce across those licenses. everything from the various levels of Salesforce licensing, right down from starting off at Lightning Platform Starter, but also for those external stakeholders on customers, partners, what have you, leveraging Salesforce experience, previously known as Salesforce Community. And one of the major benefits of having everything built on Salesforce is to leverage those capabilities in Salesforce, being able to create your own custom fields, calculated fields, update the page layouts, have different page layouts for different types of users, leveraging that Salesforce business logic on top of the automated logic provided with Mission Control. Everything from using Salesforce ScreenFlow, validation rules, Salesforce Flow Builder, triggers, what have you, and being able to build all that out, and also leveraging the mobile app. So even using the Time Logger app with Mission Control and Salesforce One Mobile. And no integration is required because you're automatically integrated into Salesforce when you install Mission Control. And literally, as I said earlier, it takes minutes to set up and install. And it's a familiar user interface. If you're still using Salesforce Classic, Mission Control will work with Salesforce Classic, but of course, with Lightning experience, of course, as well. Those benefits of actually leveraging Mission Control with Salesforce, and this is some of the key findings from the Klein Consulting Group, who managed to sort of interview a number of Mission Control customers to say what were the core values that they received. Now, we've got an ROI calculator, return on investment calculator, and you can calculate, well, if we invest into Mission Control, what is the likelihood that we're actually going to get these sorts of benefits? And I always look to err on the side of caution. And even if you're looking at something like a 2% increase in revenue, a 2% increase in profit, a 2% increase in billable utilization, a 2% increase in operational efficiency, that can have a massive benefit across any business. And obviously the figures that we're seeing from customers is much higher than 2%. And certainly the payback periods are very fast. And the return on investment is very, very powerful, very important. How happy are our customers? Well, you only need to go to g2.com and see what Mission Control customers are saying about the solution, as well as on Salesforce App Exchange. So reviews are very important to us. We do regular customer satisfaction surveys. Our CSAT scores are regularly in the 100%. And a lot of our drive is to actually have exceptional customer support. So response times, resolution times, working with customers. And that's, that plus the fact we believe we've got the best project management solution built on Salesforce helps leverage that high net promoter score. Now, certainly in the industry of SaaS software, where those norms around the 40 to 50 net promoter, having a net promoter score in the 80s is exceptional. And that's one of the things you get to benefit from being a customer of Mission Control. Who actually uses Mission Control? Well, it's not just people in the services industry. So anyone who actually needs to manage some sort of project, whether it's pure professional services, obviously a very good fit, but also we've got customers in construction and engineering, financial services, health services, pharmaceuticals, not-for-profit, software, and a raft across many, many other businesses. So you're actually going to be in very, very good company. And anything from pure play services to someone who needs to manage people, manage time, and manage delivery of projects. Great case study, one of my favorites, brands. Being a Kiwi myself, this brands are in Wellington, New Zealand, very close to where I grew up as a child. And some of the core benefits that brands actually realized was in their first year, being able to actually give back a number of days every month to project managers who previously were managing projects on spreadsheets on their laptops. And the fact that they were able to automate most of those reporting, the timesheeting, the expenses, the billing, all the aspects that project managers were managing manually, separately to everyone else, being able to centralize all that information. They said, look, giving project managers back 4 days every month was one major win. And then having that increase in efficiency is fantastic. But one of the core values for them was getting everyone onto Salesforce and everyone onto Mission Control to have visibility across the business. So previously, where someone might have been struggling with resourcing on a project, no one knew unless they put their hand up. Whereas being able to have everything centralized with Mission Control and Salesforce was very easy to tell when someone, either a project was lagging, people were overburdened, or not enough resource available. So people were actually able to help out. And they found it actually helped out with a lot of collaboration. What's in Mission Control? And this is what I like to call our feature wall. So if we break that down and start with the people delivering. So the resources, whether it's people, whether it's equipment, assets, placeholders, what have you, being able to assign those resources a cost rate. What is it costing us to have those resources on the project? But also billing rates. How are we actually charging out for those resources? So we can look at their hourly rate. Are we looking at rate cards? Do we look at a daily rate? All the different aspects of how we could actually capture the cost, but also the delivery fee, if you like. Being able to build those roles, those resources out into various teams, whether it's by capability, like consulting, developer, project manager, by location, such as Australia, Sydney, maybe even internal staff. And then also being able to assign skills to people from a skills matrix. So when you actually start looking for those resources, you can start with, I need someone from the consulting team, internal employee that has a skill of configuration, and then you can look at their availability. So it makes it very easy to actually locate the right person. Now, if you're doing that today using calendars and spreadsheets and what have you, once you get to about 6 or 7 people, and I say that hand on heart because that's where I was when I was an engagement manager. Once I got to 6 or 7 people, that became very, very hard. You didn't know exactly what everyone was doing, their availability. So being able to centralize all that information is extremely powerful and actually saves a lot of time and heartache. And being able to assign those resources based on those requirements, reassign them, being able to see what their utilization is. So both from a forward-looking perspective, but also from a historical perspective. And being able to track simple things such as holidays, public holidays, when people are on annual leave, PTO, sick leave. So we're not booking people when we know they're going to be away for a 4-day weekend, that sort of thing. Project management, we're going to be talking a bit about this today, being able to create projects. So not just creating projects from scratch, but being able to generate them from Salesforce opportunities, or using the project request object, being able to generate them from pretty much any Salesforce custom object. And much as you would with any project tool, being able to clone projects, either a whole project or parts of project, loading portions of projects, much as when I was a much as when I was an engagement manager using Microsoft Project. Hardly ever built a project from scratch, could actually beg, borrow, steal from other projects. And the different ways you can actually manage those projects. So, typically, delivery projects tend to be either waterfall, agile, or a combination of those. And people have preferences on how they view those projects. Some like working with a Kanban view. Many people like using an interactive Gantt chart. And being able to get down into that deep project management aspects of things such as tracking baselines, looking at dependencies, what's the critical path, managing risks and issues, being able to look at retrospectives and lessons learned. So what can we do better next time? What have we done well in the past? And then taking that through to time tracking. So one of the things that seems to be the major bugbear for most customers and their staff is logging of time and having to hunt down project details to log time. So making that time logging as simple as possible, and those approvals being built in as required. Financials, so the full project financials, being able to track that. So everything from expenses, time, all those sort of other aspects through to billing, and having that ready to go out to your finance system, whether it's Xero or one of those other solutions, being able to track that and track the costing, expenses, as well as the revenue and yet P&L against projects. Full program management, won't be talking too much about the actual program management, but certainly looking at the different layers, having portfolios and programs and projects, and I'll be looking at that structure of things as well. And the various collaboration tools built into the solution, and leveraging things such as Salesforce Chatter as well. I'll be showing you a couple of the status reports and stakeholder reports as well. And certainly those key productivity tools. So let's get in and have a look at Mission Control. And I'm going to start off by creating projects. So let's go have a look at my mission control system. And if you're thinking this looks a lot like Salesforce, well, then you'd be right, because if I look at the Salesforce app launcher at the left, these are all the apps I've got set up in my instance. And I've certainly got Sales Cloud, Service Cloud, Marketing Cloud, Salesforce Community, and of course, I've got Mission Control. And the way that I've got Mission Control set up is the way that my profile allows me to view things, whether it's the tabs I see, where it's Salesforce permission sets determining what fields I can see, edit, update, all those sorts of things. We'll probably start our journey with Mission Control in the Mission Control console, and that's a gathering of control pads. It's a launch pad for actually creating things. So we'll create a project shortly. A role is where you're assigning a piece of work. It could be a person who logs in. It could be a contact record like a customer. It could be an asset, meeting room, piece of equipment, or a placeholder. You can group those roles into teams. My example before, I had geography by capability, build out a skills matrix and assign those. So when you're actually looking for people, we'll see how that works. A lot of other capability built into Mission Control. And we'll be looking through progressing using things such as the Kanban view, looking at the timesheet, risks and issues, and then we might actually deep dive into a few things as we get to the end. Now, if you're interested in trialing Mission Control, download Mission Control from Salesforce App Exchange into a sandbox or other Salesforce org. Once you've got that set up, following the quick start guide, which you can get from Salesforce App Exchange, go to the control pad on the console. And if you scroll down a little way, you'll find there's this create sample data option. This is really useful if you don't want to have to build out accounts, projects, resources, and you just really want to have a test of Mission Control. And it outlines, 7 sample projects with all the details around it so that you can actually have a good trial of Mission Control without having to spend hours or days setting up all that data. We're going to go and create a project shortly, but before we do, just want to touch on 2 more things. One is the trackpad. You can see the trackpad here at the console. It's also available at the project level. You can choose what menu items come on here, and chatter feeds. So being able to leverage chatter all the way through the system, being able to app mention, share information. We'll see that as we go into the project. And you'll see some of these other options. Last count, there's about 8 different places you can log time in Mission Control. And that's because certain places you might prefer to work. It's where you'd like to log time. We'll see a couple of examples of that. So what is the structure of a project in Mission Control? Well, if we start at the top level we have is the portfolio. So there's 7 layers available for projects in Mission Control, the top layer being a portfolio. And a portfolio can be a gathering of programs. So in my example, I've got 3 programs. Then under each program, I've got a number of projects. So if we go from portfolio layer down to the program layer to the project layer. Now, under the project itself, we have optional phases. So you don't have to have phases, they're an option. Then under the phases, we can have milestones. So under my project, I've got initiation and delivery phase, and under my initiation phase, I can see I've got 2 milestones, requirements and design. If I open up requirements, I'll see I've got 2 green icons, which are my project actions, and that's where we're going to be assigning work. There's also a sub-layer below actions called checklist items, and you can also assign work at this level as well. So if we count those out, there's 7 layers, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 layers we can have from Mission Control. We're going to be looking pretty much at a project level with milestones and actions and checklist items. Feel free to post any questions in here. Let's go and look at creating projects. So I could use my project wizard. What I'm going to do, I'm going to come into my Salesforce list view for projects and I want to create a new project. I'm going to start from scratch, and we'll call this a webinar project. Number of fields. Now, this is a Salesforce page layout, so how you want these to be ordered on the page is up to your Salesforce admin, whether you need them or not. Things I'm going to assign this project manager. I'm going to assign this to Mick Fanning. and I want to link this to my project account. So this is one of the ways that we can actually create a project and link it into a Salesforce object. And I'm doing that manually, of course. I might want to group this under my ACE program, which we saw before, and I want to make sure that Brittany is my key stakeholder from the customer. I have got an opportunity. I've got this related to yet. I'm not going to be using a rate card, but I mean, if I've got rate cards for customer ACE, I can use their rate card. We may have agreed with them. And this is just a pick list field for category and say this is going to be fixed price professional services. And I've got multi-currency set up, so I'll be just running in Australian dollars. Other fields will be created as we go along. And for this project, I want this to be fixed price and expenses. So we've got different types of billing. You can have fixed price and expenses, time materials, deposit to time materials, retainer to time materials, or controlled on milestones, which you could have different billing on each milestone. You might start with fixed price or retainer and move to different like time and materials as you go along. Project budget, let's say I've got $20,000 budget for the project. It's an 8-hour day. And then I can pick what the billing and the cost rate. So the standard billing rate could be a daily rate. Maybe we're doing a daily rate of $2,000 a day. Maybe we have a rate card we're leveraging. Maybe the rate's going to be based on the skill being delivered. So when someone's delivering design versus training versus documentation, maybe we charge a rate based on that skill, or we do it based on the role. So each role can have a billing rate and a cost rate. So what we do is capture that by the person delivering in that role. When they're delivering, what is their rate for delivery? We're not going to be charging overtime to the customer, but we might capture that at the cost level. We can choose a color for the project when we're looking on Kanban views and what have you. And there's a whole lot of other options. So do we want to have the role manager and the project manager approve timesheets? Typically, yes, would be most answer. And if someone's going to be away, who's the delegated approver while that person's away? So it's not just for time, but also for expenses as well. Down to the billing information, a lot of this will be actually captured as the project progresses, but I do want to actually make sure this is done with the Australian goods and services, and we're going to do milestone billing. So I don't really need any more information on here other than the billing term. And a lot of these other fields will be created as required as the project actually progresses. If we want to do an expensive markup, so maybe we have an admin fee for that, and then do I want to have approvals for my expenses as well on the project? Typically, the answer is yes. Do I want to generate a project status report? And in that status report, what do I actually want to include? So include pretty much everything. I'm going to have time logs, issues, risks, change requests on a Gantt chart view for the customer. Also, I'd like to have the health check to go in that as well as all the reporting around the health check. The client read-only page, when that gets generated, yep, I'd like to actually share that as well. It's a great way to share out to stakeholders. And we might just have everything. All the rest of the information is going to get populated as the project progresses. And let's just quickly save my project. Now that's really the project header. So at the moment, we don't actually have a project structure. So we could actually go through and build out a project. First thing we'd want to do is build out milestones. So I can go over to the right-hand side here under my overview and start building out my project. So I could start milestone by milestone. I might have requirements and user stories and other aspects I want to capture with it. Perhaps it's going to be an agile project. So maybe I'm going to create this as a sprint milestone, all those sorts of aspects. If I don't want to do that manually, then I could also use my milestone loader. And I find this is extremely useful because we could load everything from one project or capture components of projects. So I could actually leverage milestones from various different projects to build out my project. Now, for my example, this is going to start on the 2nd of June. I want to clone any checklist items or contributors we've got in there. And I'm just going to load the milestones from that other project. And straight away, we can see there's our milestones that have come in. Under the milestones, we've got all the actions, which are the green icons here. And then I've also got some checklist items as well. I've got some placeholder roles, which came from this project, which is going to make it useful when I'm actually looking for people. And if we look at the action level, it's also got our estimator or our scheduled hours. And then as time gets logged, we'll see the actuals on that. So I've been able to track a lot of that capability from the project. And because I copied the whole project, it also created all the dependencies that came from that project as well. So if we go into the Gantt chart view, what I'm going to see here is my Gantt chart breakdown. So I've got my requirements, milestone, my action, my checklist items, and then I can see the dependencies as they go through the project. Maybe we'll just shorten that to when the delivery happens. So we're actually good to go. So that's how easy it is to actually create a project. We could actually go and build that out from scratch. There's training videos on certainly how to do that and walk through all those sort of actions. And then I might actually say for this webinar project, actually, I don't just want to have this as a new project. I want to create this as a template. And that's one of the questions I get asked a lot is, how do I make a project a template? Well, this is a good candidate for a template because I haven't got real names in here. I've got placeholder roles. I've got a lot of the information in here. I've got the hours, start dates, what have you. And to make this a template is very, very easy. I simply go into the project and on my page layout, it's right down the bottom, is a checkbox. And that is identify this as a template. That will now be available to actually leverage for creating projects, automatically leveraging this as a template. Before I hit save, I'm also going to call this, I'll just call this webinar build fixed fee. And I love putting the word template in there because it really helps identify quite often whether it's a standard project or a template. And maybe what I'll do is I will take out some of this project information we created so I can leverage this more as a template. So I don't have any other information sitting there. We can add that as we go along and hit save. Oh, okay. And one of the great things about a lot of the capability is being able to know when you've made an error. So let's not generate this weekly status report yet. Okay, so now I've got my project. So probably the question now is, how do I leverage this beautiful template now I've created it and leverage that for creating projects? Well, there's two main ways we can do that with Mission Control. We have an object called a project request object. Now, project request object, and we can use automation with Salesforce Flow as we need to. All right, so I'm going to create a project, my webinar web. Try that third time lucky. My webinar project. Project will be populated once again, and then where's that? Yeah, let's call this website build. There we go. I called it webinar build. There we go. Not website build, webinar build. I was wondering why I couldn't find it. And then I want to align this to an account in Salesforce. Now I can have this project request object screen used to actually help automate a lot of this process with Salesforce Flow. And I can generate a project attached to any of these standard or even custom Salesforce objects. So I might say, I just want to generate this straight from the account. It might actually be related to a support case. It could be related to various things. And all I need to do is say, I want to start this project. I'm going to generate the project from the template. And then once that actually creates, it'll take about 5 seconds to then populate this project. And we've called that my webinar project. I'll just go search for that. Let's just hit refresh. That might actually happen for us automatically. There we go, my webinar project. That typically will populate automatically, but essentially what you've got is a project request object, so you can actually generate those projects from any Salesforce object. Now, if you're using Salesforce opportunities, that becomes even easier. So I've got a project ready to get kicked off, ACE Website Design Services. And what we're going to do here, we've got these 4 fields for actually creating our project automatically as well. So again, if I actually do a search on my webinar build fixed fee template, and I could tick this box manually. Now, the only part of automation I've got set up in this instance is a Salesforce flow. And I mentioned that for the project request. And essentially what a Salesforce flow is going to do is going to tick this box for me automatically. And then once that project is created, it will show here under my Salesforce related list for the projects. So a great way to connect those projects to the opportunity, to the account. It's already connected to ACE Enterprises. It's connected to this opportunity. And I'm not going outside Salesforce at all. I'm actually going into the project itself, straight out from my opportunity. So, being that interconnected, massive value without having to go in and out of various systems. So again, we've got our milestones, we've got all the placeholder roles here, and I can start assigning this work. Now I've got alerts here telling me this should have started. Today's May 15th. That's day, month, year for anyone from North America. And I've got 8 hours to be scheduled. Now, I can go and manually do this. I could just assign it to my favorite consultant. There's a number of ways I can do this. So over at the right-hand side, we have a little icon here for the resource assignment wizard. And that's really powerful because the resource assignment wizard is going to allow me to search by capability. It's going to, if I've got skill sets and things I care about, and I'll be able to go to my resource assignment wizard. And from the project template I'm using, I've also got the team and the skill I need or require. Might change that. So actually what I'd like to do is have configuration. And then for my placeholder role, rather than just type in the person's name, I'm going to use that search criteria to see who's going to best suit to actually start the project today. It looks like we've got 4 contenders here, and I can simply assign that to one person. If I want to split that work and have multiple people working on it, I could take that 8 hours here and put, say, maybe give 4 of those to Bethany and split that work out. Very easy to go and find those resources, see what the availability is like, and let's hit save, and that'll be assigned to those people. There's also a lot of other automation built in. We had a thing called the auto assignment wizard. So because I had the skills based in there, I can use the auto assignment wizard, so I don't have to go individual action by individual action, but I can use the wizard to go and search across the whole project, find the skills required for each of those project actions, and then find the people that match the criteria of the skill, the capacity, even the enjoyment level. And say, well, I'm going to assign that to Alana, and Mick's going to be the project manager. Look, it's great. I only have 2 people I need to assign to this project, and job done. So Mission Control's actually found me the right people. It's now assigned across the different aspects of the project. I can see the assignment hours. As those hours are logged, we'll be able to track against that as well from a delivery perspective. So what about the view for the end consultant? So, if we go to refresh the overview, we can see Alana's now been assigned to that requirements meeting. She needs to log some time to that. So let's log in as Alana and see what that view looks like. So first of all, Alana might get something like Daily Digest, an example where you might send this every day or once a week on what do people have on their plate, what are they assigned to. This example, Alana can see what's on for today, anything new that's been added, things that she's waiting on, things that are overdue. If she was an approver, she could actually see any time logs or expenses or holidays she needs to approve. And that's before even logging on. So if we log in as Alana, and we'll be using her permission sets, her profiles, and what she gets to see when she's actually logging in. So she could have different views, and one of those would be the Kanban view. So if we look at the whiteboard, gives you that Kanban type view of what's actually happening. And we can see all the various actions. The cards here are the project actions. We can see she's got one here that she's working on at the moment. It looks like it's 100% complete. And it also looks like 20 hours have been logged out of 16 available. So yeah, that might be something someone needs to look at. Under my planned, I've got that website design services, the requirements milestone, the actions meeting, unique number, and then we've got start and end date, checklist items, hours available, and percent complete. We can see the progress. So Alana might just start working on that, and that's going to update the project. So from a project manager perspective, the project will now be in progress. So the project manager is going to get that view as well. And then here, if Alana clicks on the checklist item manager, she said, there's a couple of things I need to do while I'm working on this project, and I want to tick off the checklist as I go to make sure I'm doing everything. So one was to validate and document requirements, and the other one was to get the client to sign off. And you can log time against these as well as needed. And then from here, Lana might say, well, I don't actually want to go to a standalone timesheet. I might just log time as I go. So it's pre-populated that information for the project action number. And you might say sign off from client. In case we need any notes, you can enforce notes as you need them. If you've got a category you like to have your time logs to, that's simply a pick list field, so you can design that as you need for your business, and then any hours completed. So from that perspective, Lana can actually mark this off as complete here. We'll just log the time for now and see what happens from an update perspective. And once that time log's been updated against the project action, we'll see 8 out of the 8 hours are done. The progress bar is complete. The 2 checklist items are completed. So Lana can simply just drag that to complete and move on to the next item she's working on. Now, what makes that really easy as well is there's a number of filters in Mission Control. So Alana can actually go and filter and have multiple filters. She might say, different actions she's looking at. Maybe she only cares about actions that are actually starting this month or this week. So she could actually filter down and see just the things that she cares about for this week. So that's probably going to be the next priority. And we can see all the things she's working on. And you can save and share those filters as you go through as well. If we go back to the timesheet, Alana could have actually done everything we just saw there from her timesheet. So we can see here, there's that web design services requirements meeting. We can see it's actually being completed. We can see she's 8 hours available and 8 hours delivered, none left. And she's already logged the 8 hours here. There's also a stop start timer. So maybe you want to do a stop start. You can actually populate the timesheet from there. Now, because we have full holiday management within Mission Control, it's also pre-populated that Lana's got annual leave for tomorrow. So it's showing the weekend as non-working days, as well as her time log for that annual leave. So she's not having to manually go and do that. Now, the beauty of having all this work pre-allocated, she could actually go and have a look and say, what have I got on for next week? And she can see she's got quite a few projects on next week. Looks like she's double booked for Monday. She's got nothing on Tuesday, so she'll probably be able to fit that in. Then similarly, she's got 8 hours and 16 hours booked for Friday. So things that are pretty important to know, but makes it really easy for her to actually see what's actually happening. If you've got Outlook or Google Calendar integrated into your Salesforce system, then Calendar Converter can be quite useful as well. So you can actually see what other events are in here. Maybe you've got non-project type events, so you can see what's coming up. You can also log time here. So that requirements meeting, we could have actually logged time from here. There's also approvals and rejections. So maybe Alana's logged some time and she's had some rejections and she needs to go back and just update some of her time logs there. So very handy way to actually see all that information, have it all centered in one place. So as a learner, she's pretty much done everything she needs to. Let's go and see what impact that's had on the project. So I'll go back to my project. As a project manager, I hit my overview, refresh, and I'll see a number of things that actually happened. So first of all, we can see that that requirements meeting that Alana was at has actually been completed. She had 8 hours scheduled. That's 8 hours been completed. And I've also got a setting that says when the action is complete, it's going to auto-complete the milestone. Now, this is a fixed fee milestone billing project where the milestone budget was $3,000. By completion of this milestone, we've actually created automatically a billing event. Now, this is very powerful because certainly if you want to then push this information out to your finance system, let's use Xero for an example, you can extract that information using Data Loader or using one of the various integration apps to actually push the information from the billing event into your finance system so it can then be invoiced to the customer. With whatever financial treatment, we're using goods and services tax for this example. And part of having that integration is really powerful because let's say that integration has been put in play, that's been pushed out to the finance system, that's been marked as paid, and then that comes back through an integration into the project. Now that's really powerful because I remember the days when I was an engagement manager having to chase down payments and see what was happening. This information could happen automatically. So all I really need to do is see what's happening on the project. Now, let's say that comes back through an integration. All I really need to do as a project manager is actually look at the project under the billing tab. And under the billing tab, I will have seen a couple of things. First of all, that $3,000 was invoiced and that $3,000 was paid. So extremely powerful. This is also allowing for the fact that goods and services tax has been charged. So while it says $3,000 paid, 300 of that is going, of the 300 is going off to the government, of course, or into our GST inputs. And we can see how much of the project we've actually billed and been paid for. So things that would have taken phone calls, emails, and a lot of collaboration, which can be now done automatically. So seeing a bit more information around projects. So let's go have a bit of a deep dive into a project we've done earlier. So some of the aspects you may not have seen with Mission Control is the insights. And under the insights, we've got that billing information plus a lot more. So you can choose what aspects of the project you want to include on your insights. In this, we're seeing our cost performance index. I've got red, amber, green settings. So it looks like there's been eating into our margin. We need to look at our schedule performance index is looking green. So that's not so bad. We can look at the ideal burn down for our hours. We can see we've got a couple of risks on the project, a multitude of issues that we're working on, plus all the financial aspects of the project. So I can look at the billable value by the way we're looking at the project. This example is also by role. So if we were delivering by the role, what would be the billable value of the project? So that was a great way when I went from time and materials to fixed fee is, okay, what would the time and materials value be? Plus let's add our margin on top of that. So we'll be able to track that billable value and make sure we're tracking to a margin. Any expenses we're capturing against the project as well, being able to capture those. We can see we've got marginally over the anticipated project budget expenses, being able to track that all in one place and tracking those hours. So in this example, we had 98 hours when we started the project, no non-billable, but there were non-billable hours that were actually tracked. And if we add up the 61.5 to 49.5, then we're going way over our original budget. So there'll be some change requests we need to process as part of that. Other aspects, getting that information out to customers. Had a look at the Gantt chart earlier. Your Gantt chart's going to have things such as not just dependencies, but things such as critical path, priorities of different actions. So for example, if we look at our actions here, color coded, we've got green, we've got orange, we've got red, so high priority, but we can actually see the dependency flow. Can also see when people are not available on the project. So without having to even leave the Gantt chart, I can see that Bethany is actually going to be away this weekend. So even if I wanted to, I couldn't really start the project on Monday because she won't be available. And I can see the ongoing critical path to actually deliver by the 4th of June. But it looks like we're all on track for that. Now, a lot of this information, I want to get this, I can export out my Gantt chart view in various ways. Probably the easiest way to do that is to do it via the status report. So this can be automated to go out every week or run ad hoc, as I have for this example. And that includes things such as our project health check. And project manager being able to go through and review the project, what's going well, what needs updates. And I think one of the key things with project management and interaction with the customers, the more you communicate with the stakeholders, the more successful the project's likely to be. So when you are having issues around scope and budget, let's highlight those things early on. Being able to provide that summary. It looks like we're going to be ending the project on the 4th of June, which is good. That's our target. I can see how far through we are. And, we can even share that work breakdown structure of all the dates and the completion. So, when are these expected to actually complete? Who's working on them? And that could even be, project stakeholders from the customer themselves, even if they're not logging on. And of course, a snapshot of the Gantt chart, and that's really powerful, both in the project status PDF report and also the customer read-only page. Some customers are wanting to see things such as change requests and risks and issues and time logs and generate that sort of information. The customer read-only page, probably one of my favorites, because not only can you get, and this is just a URL link that you share with stakeholders, they can see similar things like the work breakdown structure of the project, where it's up to, but also a real-time view of the Gantt chart, read-only, of course. But being able to track, okay, we know what's actually happening when things are happening. We're not going to give a view from, for Bethany when she's off this weekend to the end customer, but certainly they've got a good view of what's happening with the project, including things such as the risks and the issues that we need to actually be aware of. From a reporting perspective, because we're built natively on Salesforce, then we can leverage those Salesforce reports and dashboards. So for example, here I've got an out-of-the-box dashboard for Mission Control, and this one's focused mostly on the financial aspects. What's our project P&L across the company? What's our cost performance index and schedule performance index for our projects? When we're forecasting revenue, what's the project revenue by month? How much of that is fixed fee? By perhaps by time and materials, what are our key projects? When are they due to finish? And being able to actually run those reports real time and get that information straight away. And being Salesforce reports and dashboards, of course, if you want to create your own reports, it's very straightforward. You just need to use the report builder. And this is the Salesforce report builder leveraging mission control objects. You might even have join reports where, for example, you're connecting opportunities and projects and delivery or what have you, and being able to create your own columns and filters and all that information. So extremely powerful. So that's mission control. That's creating mission control projects from Salesforce, from whether you're using a project request object, whether you're generating a project from an opportunity. And what if you want to get more information? Well, this is where you can actually contact one of our sales teams. So sales@aprica.com.au or sales@aprica.com, and an account exec can connect with you and have a call to understand your requirements and tailor a solution demonstration to fit your needs. If you want to actually do a trial of Mission Control, it comes with a 14-day free trial. You can simply download from Salesforce App Exchange. The Quick Start Guide's available on Salesforce App Exchange. The implementation guide we can provide you as well, the user guide, all that information. There's a lot of collateral available on our website. If you go to www.aprica.com, aprika.com, you'll see a lot of this information under the resources tab, everything from the learning portal. Cosmo, is that furry character over my shoulder, as our mascot, and our customer success team will run a webinar every month on specific features, and that becomes a training video on all those various aspects. It's a number of training videos, knowledge base, user guide, just brought out a new release with some great features in it. So that's available now to download from Salesforce App Exchange. If you need more information on Mission Control, you can go to our website. You've got the business impact report, the total economic impact of Mission Control. There's a bunch of ebook downloads, our feature guide, and of course, jump onto Salesforce App Exchange and find Mission Control Project Management. Click on the Get It Now button. If you don't want to download it into a Salesforce instance, you can actually use an online test drive. So click Get It Now, click you want to do test drive, and it's a centralized Mission Control account that you can actually use to have a look through a lot of those features. Thank you for your time. I hope that was useful.